Happy Thursday, Manna Gatherers. We are nearing the end of this week, but we will continue for the next few days, ask the question together, who is Jesus? Who is Jesus according to the Gospels, not according to our wishes of who we want Jesus to be, as we discussed yesterday when we looked at Peter's correct answer of who Jesus is, but we also yesterday heard Peter's misunderstanding of what that meant the Christ would say and do wasn't exactly what Jesus said, and did. Jesus at times can be very inconvenient to just not go along with our wishes and whims. Why can't Jesus just be made into, I don't know, my image, our image, Peter's image? Well, many of us do that, including the Apostle Peter, the rock upon whom Jesus says that he will build the church upon. That is actually exactly what Jesus says he will do in Matthew 16. After Jesus asked these two questions we hear of in Mark 8, Jesus declares that he will build the church upon Peter. Peter gets it, I guess. Let's pause for just a minute to say that what we're reading in Mark 8 together is also found in two other places. So 3 of the 4 Gospels have Jesus ask these two questions in Matthew 16 and in Luke 9. Jesus also asks what we hear Jesus asking in Mark 8, but following Matthew 16 and Luke 9, there are different responses to Jesus's question, same response to Jesus's questions, but it unfolds in different ways. For example, when in Mark 8, if you read the verse after, Jesus says, don't tell anyone. Well, that's not what he says in Matthew 16 and Luke 9. So let's stick with Mark 8 this week, hearing from Mark 8, verses 27 through 29 in the CEB translation of our Bibles. Jesus and his disciples went into the village near Caesarea Philippi. On the way, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" They told him, "Some say John the Baptist, and others say Elijah, and still others one of the prophets." Jesus asked them, "And what about you? Who do you say I am?" Peter answered, "You are the Christ." So I started out on Monday admitting that there are many, many, many books. In fact, whole libraries of books have been devoted to answering who is Jesus. Not only books, but I should have said from the outset that a whole branch of theology is devoted to the study of Jesus. It's called Christology, the study of Christ, the title Peter gives to Jesus here in Mark 8. Within this Christology field of study, not all theologians agree what it means for Jesus to be the Christ, prophesied more than 50 times in the Old Testament. But what most people do agree on is that to be the Christ is to be divine. So if we call Jesus the Christ, as Peter proclaims, then we are calling Jesus divine. But what all people in the field of Christology and in churches, not most people, but all people unanimously agree upon is that Jesus was human, a real, living, breathing, walking, eating human being. Who is Jesus then? Well, Jesus is human, but Jesus is also divine, fully a person, but also fully God, fully the Son of both human beings and also the Son of God. In the Matthew 16 version of this same Mark 8 event, Peter not only says, "You are the Christ," but Peter adds, "Son of the living God." Everyone might agree that Jesus was a historical person who was born and died in the first century Middle Eastern world. But when we join Peter in proclaiming Jesus to be the Christ, that is saying Jesus is God in the flesh, which is more than just proclaiming him to be a good, perfect person or an influential prophet. We are saying Jesus is God. Period. Jesus is our living God. So all of this made me think about a story that preachers tell. There was one evening when a man who was the father of one little girl was sitting in the living room after tucking his daughter into bed. And from the dark room down the hall, he heard his little daughter say, "Daddy, Daddy, I'm scared." So the daddy got up from the living room, walked back to his daughter, and reassured her, saying, "It's okay, just say your prayers and know that God has promised to always be with you." He tucked her in and closed the door behind him, but a few minutes later, he heard her saying, "Daddy, Daddy, I'm scared. Come here to me. I don't want to be alone." And again, he got up and he went to the little girl and said, "Remember what I said? When you start to get scared, say your prayers and remember, God is with you. You don't have anything to fear." He tucked her in, shut the door, and then again called the little girl's voice called from her room, "Daddy, Daddy." And in anticipating what she was going to say, he said, "Honey, I've already said, say your prayers and remember God." And before he could finish, the little girl said, "Dad, sometimes I just wish I wish God had skin on." Don't we all? Well, who is Jesus? Jesus is God with skin on. So let us remember that. See you tomorrow.